Greetings and welcome to Cooking with Squirrel. If you're new here, I'm the Squirrel. Today's recipe is for a friend of mine named Sheri. She brought me a cake for my birthday, and in return, I decided to offer her her very own recipe. So she filled out my questionnaire, and then she said, hey, I would like a version of chicken piccata that is not exactly chicken piccata. What I came up with is a chicken piccata meatball sub. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of make a sausage. So we're just gonna take our pound of ground chicken into a bowl, and we're gonna add 2% salt by weight. So the problem with chicken is it's very, very soft. And if you try and make meatballs out of it, it will often just, they'll be super soft meatballs and you won't have any kind of bite to them, which is not the problem with beef meatballs, is a problem here. So if we make this into a sausage by adding salt and mixing it until it becomes tacky, that's gonna allow it to hold together a little bit better and hold in all the other ingredients that we're gonna put into it in a little bit. I'm gonna go in with my salt. And then I'm just gonna work this with my hands until it gets to be tacky. You can see it's really soft right now, and that's not what we want. It won't take super long. You can start to get kind of threads pulling as you like mixing the chicken. By the way, Sheri is here. She's behind the camera. She doesn't want to be on camera, but you might hear her asking questions because this is her recipe. It does get a little firmer as the proteins start to like bind to each other. You can see it's kind of like a weird, it's holding together. That's what we're looking for. And now I need something to get this off my hand. But you can see it's sticky now. It is sticking to my fingers. That is our chicken. We're gonna set it to the side, and then we're gonna work on all the other stuff that's gonna go into this. So we're gonna make a pseudo panade. It's not a real like beef meatball panade, but we are gonna have some breadcrumbs, 1/4 cup of plain breadcrumbs. You could probably also use the like Italian seasoned ones if you wanted to add a little extra flavor in. Let's do about 1/4 cup of parsley. So I'm just going to take the good stuff off the top here. Take out some of the bigger stems. That's our stems out. So I'm gonna bunch all this up, and we just want to kind of a fine chop on this. We'll start it bunched up. We'll run through one direction, then we'll run through the other direction, and go back and forth a few times. And I don't know, like, I'm used to talking to the camera, but you're there, so I'm like, who am I talking to here?
Whatever you need to do.
And this could be done in a, you know, if you got a veggie chopper or whatever, some kind of little whiz it up type of thing. And as I always say, recipes are just a starting point. Adjust them to your liking. So if you want more parsley, less parsley, no parsley. Different herb entirely, do that. We're just slightly over 1/4 cup, so we'll go ahead and put all that in. Next, we're gonna go 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Pick what you like. Something a little more robust, maybe a little spicier would be a good choice in this, I think. Time to get into one of my other favorite tools, the microplane. So I've got 2 garlic cloves here, and why mince it when you can grate it? So give these a little press to loosen up the skins. Okay, so we got our microplane. Just gonna grate straight in 2 cloves, and add more or less as you like. So I'm just gonna scrape all the garlic off into the bowl. I'm gonna do lemon zest. I'm gonna go the other way around on the zest. And I want small pieces of zest, so I'm gonna do short strokes instead of long strokes, because I don't want long stringy bits of zest. Mostly for texture reasons, like you don't wanna get a long stringy bit in the middle of your meatball. In with our zest. And now I'm gonna do 1 ounce of Parmigiano Reggiano. And to do that, I'm going to measure what I have. So I'm gonna do about 30 grams, which is roughly 1 ounce. So instead of measuring how much I have grated, I'm gonna measure how much is left this. So I will just go to, I'm at 170.9, so I'll go somewhere in the region of 140. And I'll just go straight in with this. Sheri and I were talking earlier, and I was telling her about the variance between the fluffiness of cheese depending on what style of grater you use. If I were to use a much larger whole grater, 1 ounce would be significantly less in volume, so it's really kind of difficult to do this by volume. It's much easier to do by weight if you can. And if you have like a 1/4 pound of cheese, you look at that and you go, okay, well that's 4 ounces. I can guesstimate an ounce. Like, this doesn't have to be perfect. And this is going to look like a mountain of cheese. There we go, just slightly over an ounce. And
that is a huge amount.
it looks like an enormous pile of cheese, doesn't it? But it was only this much of the tip of this cheese right here. All right, so we're gonna give this a good mix. All right, that looks great. So this basically looks like kind of lemon and parsley sand at this point. So it's all nicely mixed together. And now what we'll do is we'll grab our chicken. We'll move right into the next step, which is we're gonna mix it all together. So now it's kind of looking like dough, which is kind of what we want. Pretty good distribution. The good thing about the parsley is it kind of tells you how well you have distributed the ingredients through, because you can't really see the lemon or the cheese anymore. But the parsley is easy to see. All right, I am happy with the chicken. Gather it all up in one side here. The next thing we're gonna do is portion our meatballs. You can do this in a multitude of ways. I'm using a fancy scooper. If you don't have one, it's not a big deal. This one's about a tablespoon and a quarter, so it's like a mounded tablespoon, a little bit mounded tablespoon. As long as they're the size that you want to bite, that's all that matters. So I'm gonna scoop these out. I'm gonna leave them rough, and then I'm gonna use some water, and I'm gonna smooth them all, and then I'm actually gonna pat them a little bit flat so that they get nice crispy edges on two sides. I'll show you how we do that in a little bit, but let's go ahead and get these portioned. So I'm gonna press up against the side of the bowl, and I'm just gonna drop these little meat ice cream scoops on here. And they're all jagged right now, but that's okay because we're gonna hand roll them after this.
Why do you need water?
Damp hands make smooth balls.
Gotcha.
We're portioned. Now we're going to learn the damp hands make smooth balls method. So we'll go ahead and move this over here. This is a Chef John thing. I learned it from him, foodwishes.com. That's his YouTube channel. Awesome dude, really smart. You just dampen your hands a little bit. Meatball in, doesn't stick. So perfectly smooth meatball right there. And then I'll just, every once in a while, grab some more water. That's our meatballs formed. You see I gave them all a little pat on the head. That one needs a little more of a pat. So they're gonna have a little bit of a flat surface, so they're gonna brown a little better, which is our next step. So let me get the burner out and I'll be right back. Got our burner out, gonna get some heat going, medium-ish. Everybody's burner's different. Then we're gonna go a little bit of neutral oil. We want enough to cover the bottom of the pan pretty well. We're not deep frying these, but we don't want a dry pan because we need good contact between the pan and the meatballs.
When you say neutral oil.
Neutral oil is going to be like your vegetable oils, your canola oils, anything that doesn't have really any flavor. It's relatively cheap. That's why it's often used for this kind of operation is you're not trying to get any flavor out of it. It's really just there to be the heat conductor between the pan and the food. Love the questions. Because I feel like sometimes that I over-explain things, but then I remember that because I watch so many food videos, I've seen and heard these things so many times, but not everybody does that.
Right. No, so I do not know what you mean by neutral oil.
Okay, so we're gonna go in. We don't want these touching each other, but they don't need to be like super far away from each other either. So they need enough room to breathe just a tiny bit. That's the sound we want. Give it a little press. And the goal here is to get these to 165 for ground meats. It's pretty standard. Chicken is 165 anyway. They'll more than likely be fully cooked through by the time we get the color we want on them anyway. But you can temp these. I have an instant read thermometer. We can use that. But lots of different ways you can go. You can do the old cut one in half and see if it's still pink method. Whatever you like. Oh, these smell so good. Pans have a tendency to have a little bit of a bow in the center, so if you don't have enough oil in here, you can give it a little tilt so that you get some extra oil underneath the edges of these. Once it's kind of trapped under there, it'll stay, and you'll have good heat transfer. So while these are cooking, I'm gonna prepare all of my sauce ingredients. Kitchen Ninja. So if you're using a stainless steel pan like this, you'll know they're ready to come up when they will come up without a fight. So you can see we've got a really nice color on these. They come right off the pan. Beautiful color on these. These are the last ones I put on there, a little bit lighter, but they should be fine. And those are the ones we'll want to be the most careful of as far as temperature goes, so we'll definitely temp those to make sure that they're up to 165 before we pull them off. Because we're not going to cook these in the sauce. A lot of meatball recipes, you brown your meatballs, you cook it in a sauce. Because of the style of sauce we're doing, it just wouldn't really work. So we're going to make sure they're done before they come out of the pan. 138, so a little ways to go. We can finish these in the oven, like if we got enough color and we don't want any more browning, we could let it chill out a little bit, or we could just turn the pan way down, but we can finish it in the oven to get to final temperature. I am gonna turn this down a little bit, and I'm going to move these little center guys out into the kind of the deeper oil. And that's gonna get a little bit of heat transfer, cook them along a little faster. So because these are kind of sausagey, if you go a little over 165, they're not going to be dry. They were at 135, what, like 2 minutes ago, and they're already done. Okay, cool. So they are fully cooked. What I'm going to do now is remove most of the neutral oil from the pan, and then we're going to deglaze this. I'm going to bring the pan back up to about medium-low heat, because we need a little heat in the pan to get all the tasty flavor off. I'm going to get out my Handmade by me favorite wooden spoon. This is Sheri. We're going to deglaze. A little bit of wine. So we're just looking to get all that tasty brown stuff up off the bottom. So we're both getting the fond off the bottom, and we're going to cook this wine down just a little bit.
So does it really take the alcohol out? So
most of it for sure, yeah.
So if someone was sober?
That's going to depend on how sensitive they are. Okay. So
you'd have to check with them.
Yeah, you need to check with them. I'm going to squeeze my lemon in. I'm going to catch the, as the Brits would say, pips in between my fingers. I think I dropped 2 seeds. I did. 2.5. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. We're cooking the white wine down, the lemon juice a little bit. 2 to 4 tablespoons of capers. Our guest loves capers, so I'm going to go 4. And that's about another 2 there. It's not a science. This is art. Okay, we're gonna go in with our butter.
Butter makes everything better.
Yes, it does. And you'll see no salt in this. Capers are salty. The meatballs are salty. More than enough salt involved here. We don't need to add any salt directly to this. I'm a huge proponent of salt, but in this scenario, we don't need any more. Okay, our butter's melted in. We're gonna go in with our cream. Get that stirred in, and we're going to turn the heat up just a little bit so we can get this simmering. We want to reduce this until it thickens up a little bit. Now you can see we got a good simmer going now. This will not take long from here. We're going to turn the oven on, just 350. I'm not going to show you what's in there because I have dishes in there that I use the oven to dry. So I'm just going to throw these rolls in here. Nothing's weird's going on. And we just want to warm these up and maybe give them a little toast on the outside. Okay, we're going to turn this down just a little bit. We don't want to cook it too hard. If you cook it too hard, it can break. It's really hard to break a cream sauce, but let's not chance it. Remember, this will thicken as it cools, so stop a little bit. When you think it's just a little too thin, stop then. You want to get a peek at this? I think we're probably really close.
Okay, I definitely see.
So it's still pretty thin, but you see how it coats the spoon like that? That's going to thicken up some more as it sits, and there you go. So I'm going to go.
Oh, that lemon breaks through. Oh my God, this sauce is wonderful.
Very good. I'm glad you like it. So I've got our rolls out of the oven. They just are warmed through. A little bit of crisp on the outside, not a lot. So we're going to go in with our meatballs, and we're just going to stack them end to end, however many fit. The internet's probably mad at me for using my fingers. They are clean. I've washed them about how many times? 7,000 tonight. I'm gonna go over the pan, get a good scoop. Right in there, give it a good coverage. As usual, camera eats first. Sheri,
Yes.
would you like?
Yes, I would like to try this. I have been waiting for this all day. How many hours? The sauce is wonderful.
Yeah.
Crunch of the meatballs. I like that little bit of grilled taste.
Mm-hmm. The little bit of sear on the outside. It's got a little
Yes.
crunch to it. Yep.
Oh, the flavor is wonderful. It tastes like a chicken piccata.
That was the goal.
It is on.
It's a chicken piccata in a different form.
Oh my god. I'm gonna need napkins.
There's napkins out on the table. You go enjoy that. I'm gonna do my outro. I'm not gonna make. We've had your review. I'm not gonna eat mine on camera this time.
Really?
Do you need? Would you like me to? Very well. Very well. Mm-hmm. It's a good sub. It's bright. It's rich and fatty, but it's also bright and acidic and herbaceous and lemony. Overall, fantastic. All right.
It was worth the wait. Thank you.
Very good. I'm glad you like it. I do hope you liked this recipe. I know Sheri does. If you make it, tag me on Facebook or Instagram. Same name as it is here on YouTube, Cooking with Squirrel. If you have any positivity in your life, please try and pay it forward. Go out there, do something nice for somebody today. Make the world a little bit better place. If you made it this far, do all the YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And thanks for stopping by. If you are interested in watching any more of my videos, you can check one out up here. And if you are interested in watching my food and philanthropy videos, which is why I started the channel, those will be down here.